everyone, and welcome to the show where after the collision, we sift through
the wreckage.
Boy!
Hey,
got right. We got it right. Oh my God, it worked.
I didn't screw it up for once, but there you go. Anyway, I am your host, Jimmy T. He is the best in the world, Jaime the Vet Williams, and he is the magnanimous, the glorious Chabelo Vera Cruz. And you are listening and watching live on her media group's YouTube channel and, of course, channelattitude.com after the fact. Fellas, what is going on after a second week of continental games, shall we say? There's a bit of news along the way in the wrestling world, and as you can see with the prof in the background there. Now, me and Vet have spoken about this already.
We talking about my background. What? I got nothing. I got nothing about my background. What are you talking about?
Well, clearly, you want to talk about something in particular before we get into other news. So, Prof, I'm going to throw it to you because if you want to catch, I mean, I know you've got also an opinion. Obviously, Vet, you did bring it up on the Smack Attack, but I'll go with you first, Prof. Prof, what do you think about this whole deal? Is it going to impact AEW?
Is it going to impact AEW? That is the $1 million question as everybody in the IWC has asked. But, you know, it has nothing really to do with AEW right now. It really doesn't. I mean, that's actually the lowest of the low priorities, Jimmy and Vet. The priority for Netflix to acquire WBD is the studios and the IP rights of all the shows that they have in the Warner Brothers library. Because think of it from the analogy for the IWC, Jaime Knights. It's WWE acquiring WCW, and no one saw it coming. That's the same thing. And WWE acquired it. They had their maybe like 3-year plan, but yet they wanted the IPs, they wanted the library, and then years later we got the WWE Network. That's the way it will go. Same thing with what's happening with Netflix and Warner Brothers. But the thing about Warner Brothers with the acquisition of Warner Brothers is, I'm not going to say I fear for the actors, but you know where we are right now in 2025 and going on to the future and going on 10 years from now. We're worried about AI. So actors could be, swayed away. We could be worried about production grips because they could be swayed away with AI and CGI and shit like that. The SAG unions, the Writers Guild, because of AI. And now you got a monopoly happening here, which I think Malaka Jones is in the chat saying isn't illegal. Yes, it's going to be illegal because injunctions are going to happen in the next couple of months. I know Paramount, which everybody, even I said here on the Wreckage weeks ago, I said Paramount was going to get it. It's the same thing. Paramount with Eric Bischoff trying to acquire WCW, and Netflix is WWE just swooping in. So again, there's going to be injunctions, but it is what it is. I think Netflix is going to win. I see nothing happening here. I think Netflix is going to acquire the Warner Brothers, and we're going to have Hollywood West in Netflix and Hollywood East, because I think Netflix has got studios in the tri-state area on the East Coast. I don't know if it's New York, Philadelphia, or New Jersey, but Netflix is going to try to spruce up some studios, if you will, guys. So, they're going to try to create shows there. So, we'll see what happens, but AEW has got a contract until I think 2027, Jimmy. So I can answer that question. But with that being said, we've already heard how Warner Brothers has separate entities between the studios and TNT and TBS. So that just depends. And to answer your question, of course, Tony Khan is confident about the deal going into 2027. But it's very funny. He doesn't know the max numbers, but he knows his contract is ironclad till 2027. That depends on who the leadership is, Jimmy and Vet. It depends, because Zaslav, I don't know if he will retain the power that he has. When he got the deal in 2019, he had wrestling allies. He had TBS, TNT, wrestling allies. So Tony Khan was 10 years ahead of any startup wrestling company. Now all that is gone, almost. All that's left is Zaslav. So I don't know who the wrestling allies will be behind the scenes. But again, it depends on new ownership, Jimmy and Vet. We'll see.
Interesting.
And one more thing, and Vet can chime in here, because the deals that Warner Brothers has besides AEW, we have to remember NHL, is going to be thinking now what they're going to do in the next couple of years.
True.
We got college football. They have college. I don't know which conference they have. There's a deal with that. You got soccer. So a lot of these sports entities are now going to have to like think to see where they are on the priority list.
Vet, has your opinion changed since the Smack Attack, where you gave your thoughts on this exact matter?
No, I mean, if you didn't watch, basically, my summary was much like the professor, like it doesn't matter right now for AEW. And you were asking if Tony Khan should be worried. And I'd say he shouldn't be any more or less worried than he normally is about everything that's going on. So, and if it comes down to it, it's nice to have like media rights deals and stuff like that. But if it comes down to it, he'll bankroll this thing out of his own pocket, whatever it takes. So it's not like AEW is in danger. That's what people keep thinking. It's funny how people keep telling Tony Khan how to run his business, not knowing that he doesn't care about running a business for profit, as if the business is what is required for him to survive. Most people that run a business need the income of the business to keep the business going. But this is a hobby, not a business. So it'll be around as long as he wants. And no mergers are really going to change that. If they axe AEW from Turner Networks for whatever reason, whether that has to do with Netflix or not, or WWE or not, then he'll just put it somewhere else. He'll make up his own streaming service. He'll put it on YouTube. He'll do whatever he has to, but he's not going to stop doing what he does. He's not only doing it because he got a network deal. He got a network deal and that inspired him to do it, So that's basically where we're at. It's not going to change anything. It's not. I don't know what it's going to change for Warner Brothers either, because the fact that Warner Brothers has managed itself into the ground over the past, 50 years or so, with all the properties under their umbrella that everybody knows, whether it's, DC Comics, Looney Tunes, Harry Potter, yada, yada, it's so many things. And then all the movies and everything. And they still somehow find a way to get smaller and smaller and more in debt. I don't know what Netflix is going to do to change that just because they own it. It'll be good for Netflix subscriber numbers, I guess, because people want to come to Netflix to see certain things. That's great, but I don't know that the quality of the content that Warner Brothers put out is going to be affected by this one way or another. I mean, it's not like Netflix is like a creative entity. It's just another company. So I don't know if it's going to help Warner Brothers fortunes.
But Ben, we can't forget this thing. Like I said, I don't know, jokingly, but I said, remember, in the future for this purchase, we could worry about what the AI effect with the actors and writers and producers. Don't forget the initial thing when you see this, Vet, is movie theater experience, which has already died, you could say, because I don't want to pay $50 for popcorn and sodas and
how much
people.
It costs these days.
It could be, yeah, especially in the cities.
Christ.
But I'm just saying, but Jimmy, right. I don't want to pay that money and then have ignorant people yell at the screen. I can do that myself in the privacy of my home. That's what That's why people have gravitated towards streaming services. So the movie going experience could end. And I think, funny enough, I think DC could actually benefit a lot with this deal, because they don't have to spend 200 or 300 million with production costs to do a movie to put it out on theaters and then lose money, right? They could just put it on Netflix and get 100 million views and kind of almost break even better. That's the thing I think. I think the movie going experience, which has already been dying for a long time, will die even faster.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that the movie going experience is not what it once was. And that has to do with a lot of things. It's not any one thing. But it's, it's whether it's just the fact that people's home experience has gotten better, like you said. It's different than it was when you just had to watch the CRT in the living room with the 19-inch screen or whatever, on a RF connection or UHF connection or whatever.
RF.
So that has changed, but also the prices of everything go up, and the people there, are kind of like, You know, it's just not as fun. It used to be a fun social experience, and for some people it still is. And it's going to be sad that it's dying like this, but the only problem is when you release it in theaters, when you release a movie, you have a big movie release in theaters. Those tentpole events, you know, that certain movies have become, not really every movie anymore, but certain movies are ones that everybody wants to see. When you take away the opportunity to know exactly, yes, this movie earned this much money. Movies that go directly to streaming, you could tell who's watching it, but you can't tell who signed up for your service and is paying you the monthly fee just to see that one thing. You really have no way to gauge that. So that's one thing that's always going to be like the trade-off, where you're going to want to get both. The only difference is now you don't need as long of a theater run to get your money. You can get that money in the first couple weekends. You could see where it's going, and then you could just put it on streaming with a quicker turnaround. And I think Netflix has put out a press release saying that's what they wanted to do. You know, just have a quicker turnaround from the theater to the streaming. So it cuts out a lot of middlemen to have this, this ability going forward.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, like you said, and you, Vet, well, more particularly you, actually, Vet, the thing is, even if AEW doesn't get a new TV deal with Warner Brothers in the future, they can just go on YouTube and really make a lot of money doing so on YouTube, really. When you think about it, they might even get more viewers, possibly, if they actually went that route. And I'm pretty sure if they were averaging, say, 1 million a show, I mean, that's not bad money, like, in your pocket just for having a show on YouTube, right? So, I mean, who knows? I think they'll be fine anyway. Like you guys said, there is no way Tony Khan is going to close up shop. His little ego in a little man, shall I say, is probably bigger than his actual body, because he just wouldn't allow that to happen.
Jimmy, I'll say this in hindsight. This is just my own opinion. Vet could chime in if he wants, but I said this years ago on social media, and I'll still say this again. When he purchased ROH, the biggest mistake, and again, this is hindsight, but again, just like Vet said a minute ago, I'm thinking about Tony Khan's business plan. So I'm just saying this. When he bought ROH, he had a great opportunity to and because ROH had the web infrastructure and stuff like that, it wasn't as solid as it could have been. You get what I'm saying, Jimmy? But he had content for history. He had content for pay-per-views, right? So all he had to do was kind of like create that hybrid between AEW Wrestling.com and ROH, create the Elite Network, whatever you wanted to call it. But he would have had that and what you're talking about. And he could have shopped it around for licensing. And at this juncture, could have just sold it off to, sold the rights fees to maybe Amazon, sold the rights fees to Apple TV and shit like that. He would be in a little bit of a better position for that kind of scenario that's happening right now. Instead of now, he'll have to shop his content around. Not saying that he's not going to get the same money. Again, it's very subjective. We don't know, but he's going to have to shop his content right now in 2026. He's going to have to shop his content around with networks. He's going to have to shop his content around with other streaming platforms. So it's going to happen. But if he had his own web infrastructure in place, like you're talking about, not only he could have done YouTube, like you said, Jimmy, but he would have had the Elite Network. So he could do Dynamite. He could do Collision. We would be going there. And he could have charged people $9.99. Well, that's a good number, right? He could have charged $9.99, $10.99, $11.99, and the sickos would have been like, "Yo, we have everything we all need. We got ROH history and plus current AEW shit. Everything would have worked."
Yeah. Great point.
Also, I think everything he does from the business sense is just going through the motions. Like if he's just doing it just because that's a thing to do, not because he knows how to do it or wants to do it. I mean, he would be perfectly content if he just had a PWG situation, I think. But I think that by doing the things that he does, like making the deals with the Turner networks and getting those rights fees and doing those things, like I think he feels more legit doing that. Not because he really cares or wants to, but just because of it seems more prestigious. It's like, well, this is what serious people do. Right. This is what serious wrestling promoters do. I want to be taken seriously, so I'm going to do this. But at the end of the day, it's about having the promotion and saying it's him that's running everything. I think that's the most important thing to him. And that's why it'll always be what he wants over best for business.
100%. He probably would buy PWGs.
He almost did, dude.
Oh, really?
Because who does PWG have? Can you name a PWG wrestler?
Right now?
Everybody works for AEW now if they haven't been fired. You know?
All I know is Excalibur and the Bucks were from PWG, so it was right.
Excalibur was one of the owners of PWG, I'm pretty sure as well.
Probably, I think.
I'm pretty sure he was. But anyway, that was a great chat about the whole situation with Warner Brothers and Netflix, of course. But I want to get into sort of the Human Tornado. Remember him, by the way? Do you guys remember Human Tornado?
Dolomite?
Nah, do you remember? You don't know who he is? Oh.
It's the only person I know named the Human Tornado.
He's a character, man. I remember him from WSX. Do you remember that on MTV?
I remember it. I didn't watch that.
That was ridiculous. It was kind of the precursor to Lucha Underground in many ways, but it was just way out there with explosions and all sorts of shit. That's where I first saw Human Tornado. But anyway, let's forget about him. Let's get into, did you guys catch up with what John Cena had to say recently? Actually, on first of all, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, which if anyone hasn't watched it or listened to it, check it out, guys. I know Vet, you never believe me when I say I recommend it, but I'm kid you not, this is one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to, first of all. Second of all, Cena was straight out. I didn't know this, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but do you remember when Cena first came back originally and what's it called? He first announced that he was going to retire in a year's time, but he said he was going to be around every week, basically. Every show. He was going to pretty much be on most shows. And then suddenly, after we see him say that, he disappeared for like 3 weeks and one night, then came back for the European tour for another 3 weeks and then disappeared for another month. Well, get this. Apparently, he wanted to do that. He actually did want to be at every date that he proposed. And he was talking about like over 100 dates even. But it was WWE that came back to him saying, oh, no, we only need you for about 30 dates. Which is surprising. Also, he was alluding that I don't even know if he wants to retire. Like, straight up. Like, he pretty much said that, there's still a chance that he could wrestle again. But I just find it weird that he's just come out and said all that. So I'm going to go with you first, Vet. Are you surprised by that? I mean, is it kind of weird? Is there really something really weird going on with WWE? And why would you want to? Wouldn't you want him around more often, like, than what we've had?
Is it weird? Or am I surprised? Not really.
Not,
is it
right.
Is it weird? Yes. Is there stuff going on? Yes. There's been a lot of stuff going on since, TKO's there, and we don't really know how much influence there is on certain things for certain reasons. I wouldn't know why you wouldn't want John Cena around, other than you don't want to have to try to figure a guy into creative that eventually is not going to be a part of it anymore, but that's not really a good enough excuse. So I'm not really sure, but I mean, I think one thing that everyone can agree on is that none of this went how any of us expected it to go. Whatever that expectation was, this wasn't it. Nobody expected this, this roller coaster ride of randomness. If John's not happy with how things went, then he should be unhappy with himself for not just pulling the John Cena card and saying like, no, I'm going to do everything I want to do. But he's always, I guess he did that enough times in his career, and now he just wants to, go along to get along. Right.
I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my second part, but continue on.
Okay. So yeah. If he's able to, this is the thing that people that kind of do that get to say, like when you don't stir up any, shit, and you don't cause a ruckus, and you don't make life hard for everybody else, and you just go with the flow and everything, you always get the out of being able to say, well, it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I just did what the boss said. That's always your out. That's always your excuse for, for not being in a little more forthcoming or demanding or protecting your creative or whatever. It's the kind of shit that people that made people say dumbass stuff like Bret Hart took himself too seriously. Well, that's because he just didn't want to go along to get along, because this is what happens when you go along to get along. You get John Cena's retirement year.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of fucking foolishness that makes no sense. So, it's I'm not surprised to see it. I'm not surprised to see him keeping his options open, although that could just be lip service. He could just say that just so that people will hope for it or people will stay interested in what he's doing. But the farther away he gets from wrestling, just like everybody else, the harder it is to want to go back to it. You know, like you get out and you should enjoy the fact that you're out. You don't go back into prison, once you escape. So.
Well, he did say after the Rumble, no one's going to remember him after that. He goes, it is what it is. Once the Rumble ends, no one's going to be talking about John Cena and stuff like that. I'm just going to be an afterthought. I think he's being a little bit dramatic there because it's John Cena. But it's interesting that he would say that. But, Prof, did you get to listen to the podcast? Or and if you did or didn't, what's your thoughts?
I think, I always will say this. Wrestling is a drug for anybody who does it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anybody really retire from wrestling? So as long as you're involved in some aspect in the wrestling universe, that's what he loves. He loves to do that. And certain things that he said, I take to heart. Like he said, if I can't perform at the level that I deem that I'm comfortable with to give out that product for the fans, then I can't do it no more. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a shell of myself. I can respect that. Everybody reaches that moment. When you're young in your 20s, you'll say all the right things, guys. They'll be saying, when I'm old enough, I can't do it no more, then I'll know when to step away. It's funny, but because by the time they reach that age, the mind's there. They know a lot more about the business. They know a lot more about the cadences. They know a lot more about the psychology, but the body just cannot keep up with that. And they feel like, oh my God, I wish I had the wrestling knowledge but my body wasn't there when in my 20s. I just did everything on my athletics. So it is what it is for John Cena. Maybe it's more about, I guess this is my conspiracy conspiracy theory. It's like the TKO situation, Jimmy and Vet, maybe he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the behind the scenes. Maybe he doesn't like the Nick Khan and Triple H, but he did love Vince McMahon. He was very receptive to Vince McMahon ideas, and that's why he never, he went along with the stuff, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. He just went along with that, but he had a rapport with Vince McMahon. He had a rapport with his writing team or stuff like that. I don't know if the same rapport is there with Nick Khan and Triple H, but, again, Unreal. And I know Vet will talk about Netflix Unreal series, but we saw that dynamic. I
haven't even watched the rest of it. I've only watched 2 episodes, and I'll stop watching it, man.
But again, from that aspect, I'll say again, wrestling is a drug, and people just want to stay into it, But you don't want to be a shell of yourself. You don't want to be Indian Joe in your 70s wrestling when he did. You don't want to be even Ric Flair. He was wrestling even into the 2000s. Even I was more like, no, I don't want to see my man Ric Flair from the 80s doing what he did in the 2000s.
I felt like that about Hogan even in the late 90s, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
All your favorites, your favorite childhood heroes and shit like that, you don't want to see them in the 2000s. You're right, Jimmy. You're like, you don't want to see them in that light. The only one that was kind of like, it was okay with was like Bruno in the 80s. Because I never witnessed him in the 60s. So maybe I would have been more embarrassed seeing Bruno in the 80s, but they really like booked him at least strong enough. But you get what I'm saying? It's like,
no, absolutely.
Right. Hogan, Flair, Mick Foley to a degree. Oof. So we've seen wrestlers that we've grown up with. It's the same thing.
I want to bring up a couple of not counterpoints, but like bonus points to to two of the things that you said on the last part and the first part about like, we don't want to be a shell of ourselves. Most of the guys, if not all the guys that you mentioned, even late into their careers, they weren't really doing anything worse than what they used to do in their prime, because some of them weren't that good in the beginning. Like John Cena, right? Like John Cena's matches of late, when people are saying, "Oh, look at John Cena's shitty punches," it was like, go watch John Cena in his prime and watch his shitty punches. Like, everything he's done, his career has not been about him being crisp in the ring. It never was. So he's not really out of his league now doing what he's doing, even if that's how he feels.
Right, and that's why he can get away with a few more years by doing that.
Right. Much. He was never that guy anyways. Right. And even to the degrees of like Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan was the shits in his prime, like mechanically, not his psychology or anything else, but just as far as like throwing his strikes, doing his moves and stuff, like pretty much as bad as anybody. You know what I mean? Just, you know, so when he got older, he wasn't any worse at that. It was just, you know, you just look at him and he just, you know, he's older. So you're just like, old. And he was like in his 40s then, you know, guys are, AJ Styles almost 50.
That's crazy.
So then, you know, so from that aspect, it's not always about, even Ric Flair, like some of the matches, once he came back out of retirement, you know, in around 02 or whatever, like pretty good. He was still doing all the stuff. It may not have looked as good as it did when he was younger, but he still did everything. He took all the bumps. He still had a gas tank on him.
I'm not disputing that, but like TNA, Australia tour with Hogan.
Okay, but then absolutely.
Yeah. Those are my examples. But
that's that's when you should, you know, because you did retire and you shouldn't unretire, you know, like things like that. But the other thing is, what was the other point? We were talking about shit.
Cena.
I lost. It was Cena. Okay, and I was gonna make that point, and then there was another point that Professor brought up, but now I've forgotten it. So,
damn.
Mostly about the shell of themselves, and you know, growing up with your heroes. Like I said, like Hogan, Flair, and I said, you know, back then, you know, Bruno. I didn't grow up with Bruno. So I saw him in the 80s. He was technically a shell of himself, but they booked him right. So they booked
no. I remember what it was. It was about the fact of whether his creative was different with Vince McMahon and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's really good to have a rapport with your you know, main creative when their creative for you is just beat everybody. Everybody loves that creative. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to stand up for yourself when they're already telling you you're going over on literally every person that comes through here until the fans get sick of it and boo you. Yeah, I'm sure he was just heartbroken about having to do that. I think he could take a few boos for all that merch money and the fact that he never lost any fucking matches ever. So yeah, of course, when you're on that aspect of it, it's great. When you're on the other aspect, when you're on the other side of John Cena, though, that's when you're worried about your creative and you wish somebody like a Triple H could take over, right? So, you know, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Well, before we move on, there's one more thing. He apparently, because I didn't watch this or listen to it, but he was on the Bill Simmons podcast apparently yesterday also. And one of the topics discussed, including Cena's thoughts about the main reason for his decision to retire from his in-ring wrestling career this year. And this is what he had to say. This is something I've heard a lot this past year. Man, you're going out on your own terms. He goes, that's bullshit. I want to do it forever, right? That's what he said. He goes, that's bullshit. It's not my terms. I want to do it forever. He goes, like to anyone out there who doesn't understand what WWE is, just go live. When you step in the building live, it's just a different energy. I never want to let it go. But my body hurts. I'm a step slower. I promised myself and the fan base when I started before I won the first championship. When I am a step slower, he goes, I'm done. I'm out. In response to Bill Simmons' comments about his belief that Cena has been arguably delivering some of his best matches of his career, Cena responded stating, yeah, but it's all I have left. That's what people don't understand. I want to go out at a level that is still passable and in some twinkles admirable. And I don't have to rely on luck. You know, I got one day left. I've given my heart and soul to this year. it has taken a lot to do just 35 dates. That took a lot out of me. Whereas before I do 220 in my sleep, like it's time to move on. He goes, it is what it is. He goes, Cena also said he gave his thoughts about his busy work schedule. And he's been just saying he's been going back and forth between Budapest, Morocco, and blah blah blah. But yeah, that's what he said here. See, he's saying different things. One thing on Rogan, another thing on Bill Simmons. But here I feel like he's pretty much now restating, I don't want to go out. It wasn't my decision, but I am sore and blah blah blah. Like, I got to give it up anyway, man. I'm in pain all the time and whatnot. Again, I still feel he's a little bit conflicted, guys. Now, you don't have to chime in, but I find it interesting that he's saying one thing on Rogan. He was almost talking in riddles there. And believe me when I say listen to that, because he talks about all sorts of shit. Because my next part was, do you guys remember David Otunga? He's got a podcast now.
Yeah.
Now, I've never listened to it.
Clips floating around of that.
Yeah, it keeps coming up on my feed, on my YouTube feed, right? To the point where I'm like, fuck it. Fine, I'll click it. I'm not subscribed. But he was talking about John Cena and his thoughts on Cena. The way he talks about Cena on that, dude, he was the biggest bully. What he did to him, and this is bad. But I think he just doesn't understand the business properly. Because to me, I think it was a test. You know how it is. You hear about it. Like, you've been testing these guys to see if they're they've got like a hard bone, like they can take all the bullshit and not just weaklings. They weed out so many weak people that have got talent, though, right? And Cena talks about this on Rogan too. How many there was a lot of talent that got pushed out because they just couldn't handle the bullshit and the politics in pro wrestling. And one example that Otunga said, the move where I don't know what it's called, but when you put someone on the rope, their neck and their head on the rope, and you just swing back and, you jump back and you sell it, right? Like you got whiplash, right? Well, he was meant to do that move on Cena, but the problem was, as soon as he touched the rope, Cena just sold it, and it looked bad. Like, it just looked totally bad. He goes, I didn't even do the move yet. So anyway, fast forward, after the match, they go to the back, and Cena just absolutely just gave it to him, man. I'm going to get you fired. You're not good enough to be here, blah, blah, blah. And he's thinking, what did I do wrong? He was in tears. He was saying, but in tears because he was angry. He's like, what did I do wrong? And even Goldust at the time, Dustin Rhodes, he said, nah, man, that's fucked up. That wasn't your fault. That's his fault. So Cena's just totally just going off at him. And like, for no reason, even when they won the tag championships, funny enough, together, because he wasn't excited enough, he felt, Cena decided to like tell Vince, hey, I don't want to be champs with him. So the next day they dropped the belts. It lasted under a week. That's my point. And I find that quite interesting. So anything to say, boys? Vet, I'll go with you first. While I fix this.
I don't think anything that Cena's saying is conflicting necessarily, just from what you said. I think it's just when he's saying like he doesn't want to, he's not going out on his terms. That's just him trying to be like
convincing himself.
Metaphysical. John Cena always has this smug way of trying to sound like wise and zen. Like some kind of a fucking modern day Buddhist monk or something. Like he's always doing that, saying stuff that you would put on like a motivational calendar and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why it's his phoniness is a lot of the reasons why a lot of the other fans turned on him. Cause they're just tired of his disingenuous bullshit, like trying to be a role model to everybody when, and then on the other side of it, you have stories like this, like what David Otunga's saying. So I think he's just saying that, like, because his body can't go forever, that's why he's not going out on his own terms. Because his own terms would be he'd be immortal, he'd have the fountain of youth, and he'd just wrestle for 1,000 years. I think that's what he's saying. He's saying because I'm not a god and I can't wrestle forever, it's not on my own terms. Which is that could be another level of megalomania that he has. But so anyways. Damn, if only I was a god. So now as far as the David Otunga story, yeah, this is a problem in wrestling where when guys, when guys like earmark you as not having it or they want you gone, they'll try to do things to expose you. But the problem is they pick the wrong things because they're not doing it. It's not like a real problem.
Right.
It's kind of like in boxing. Okay. Like, let's say Sonny Liston was told he had to go down when he faced Ali the second time. Right.
Right.
So he knows he's going down for a punch. Ali throws the punch. The punch isn't good, but he goes down anyway. The phantom punch, right? The famous photo of Ali standing over Liston after the punch that maybe didn't even touch him, right?
And it didn't.
So I know at that moment, it's like, oh shit, I have to sell it now, but that wasn't the punch to go down on, right? Because you're trying to do something, right? So it's the same thing. I've seen this happen on the level of, you know, on the highest of levels, like with the John Cena's of the world, and I've seen it at the lowest of levels, like where we're in class and people are trying to purposely make people look bad in practice, just so that, you know, it's happened to me.
That's sad. That is sad,
so like I know when these motherfuckers are doing this stuff and they're not slick with it. That's the problem. You know, if you got a problem with somebody, have a problem with them personally, but if they're not bad enough for you to even expose correctly, then why don't you just try to make some money with them, and then, or just say, I don't want to work with this person, and have them go work with somebody else. You don't have to go to the lengths to try to bury somebody that isn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah,
you know, or you could just wait till they actually do something wrong and then point that out. But that's the problem with, you know, these guys. Some of these guys never got a chance. And yeah, like, you should have a level of thick skin if you're going to be in the wrestling business, but that doesn't mean that there's only so much bullshit. Like, thick skin doesn't mean you're impervious. Right. It just means you can take more, but eventually everybody has a breaking point, man. Everybody cracks.
100%.
And if you could have other guys, you know, like, you got guys that are your boys, the nepotism, like, oh, this is my guy, this is my neighbor, you know?
Yeah, bullshit, probably, like, right?
Yeah, anybody that you have, and they could have thin skin too, but because they're not getting picked on because they're your boy, they won't get exposed and they won't get run out of the business. Meanwhile, you're taking shots at people that have a chance to make some money. You know, like a Mr. Kennedy, for example. You
Perfect
know?
Example.
Right.
That is why Miz gets my respect. He took all that bullshit, took all that hazing. Well, he was out of the locker room for like 6 months. I forgot who even said he could come back into the locker room. But like Vet said, there's a lot of hazing. There's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of envy. You can see, like, someone, even Hogan had envy and jealousy of the Ultimate Warrior because he even saw the writing on the wall in WrestleMania 6. Like, Ultimate Warrior was going to be the guy, but Hogan had to politic behind the scenes. So you got to save your spot, just like Vet said, you know. With John Cena and the rapport, like I said, with the rapport you have for Vince McMahon, you don't complain when you're on top and beating everybody and being the champion, being in the main event, but you're gonna be having an issue when the next young guy is coming up and like gonna take your spot. It's cyclical. The young person is gonna come to take your spot, and you're gonna try to hold on to your spot like that. So it's cyclical, Jimmy.
And just on that thing too of like the David, there's just that line that he said. Or like, he wasn't excited enough to be tag team champions.
That's what he said. Legitly, that's what he
said. And it's like, so, and let me tell you something, because one of the earliest lessons I learned being in the wrestling business is this: everything you do is wrong. Like, if you're not over, everything you do is wrong. If you just go with your instincts, you're wrong. If you do what you see somebody else do because you know they're like the leader, the locker room leaders, or you know, you want the role models and you want to set a good example, so you watch what they do and then you try to do it. If you do it, it's not cool. If they do it, it's fine. If you do it, it's not cool. Anybody will find a reason, right? So if David Otunga was excited about winning the tag team championships, John Cena would have said, look at this fucking mark. He doesn't even know that this is a business. He's over here excited about a fake wrestling belt. You know what I mean? That's the wrestling business in a nutshell. Everything you do is wrong. If you're not one of the chosen people, or you don't have a neighbor or a famous daddy or anything else.
He also ribbed him, by the way, like with the tag belts, when he told him to go and get the tag belts because how they've got the old belts for house shows, and they've got the actual belts for television. You know how they do that swap?
I mean, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised if you didn't know. But that's what they've always done for years. And so he told him to go and get the belts off Cody and Drew McIntyre at the time because that's who they won the belts off. And I'm going to do a house show. So he goes to go and get the belts, right? Now remember, he's green. He just got to the main roster, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, can I have the tag belts?" Because John told me to come and get him, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, John already came and got him." Right? So then he's like, "Okay, that's weird. He just told me to go and get him." So then now Cena's again got hate on him. Like he's pissed apparently. But what he found out, this was apparently a rib, and because he didn't fall for the rib, like he got heat for it. Like he was, Cena was just berating him again. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And blah, blah, blah. Like, just kept berating him and berating him. I felt bad for the guy. But Cena did say this, and I'll end it here. He knows that he was a cunt pretty much, when he was on top, and he apologized to anyone that he offended or pissed off anybody, which I'm sure he did. He said, "I apologize. It was just the nature of the business at the time." Because you got to understand what I went through when he was coming up. And he talks about all that shit too. And unfortunately, that's just part of the business of pro wrestling, right? Like you hear about these stories all the time. The hazing, the ribbing, shitting crowns and whatnot. Like it's just what it was, especially back then. So I guess he was returning the favor since it took him all sorts of shit to get to that spot and hold on to it. So it is what it is. Any final thoughts, Prof? Did you want to give a final thought about it?
Mostly, I want to ask Vet from a personal standpoint of this, and I just want to ask you a question, Vet, about this because with what Jimmy said about like maybe seen as hazing Otunga like that, and the nature of the beast of wrestlers hazing each other, trying to see if you have thick skin and all that stuff. What's maybe the positives and the negatives of having a human resources department for WWE and AEW? Because back then in the 80s and the 90s. Maybe the wrestlers court, or we heard that kind of terminology, the wrestlers court, they handled the business, they handled the issues themselves. And now in today's age, with being a publicly traded company like WWE is, and AEW is trying to do the same thing behind the scenes logistically, because again, Jimmy, do you know about that Sarah Stock thing? She went after Tony Khan and AEW too. We don't have to talk about that, but it's the same thing. She has a gripe with AEW for the mistreatment of the Mexican female wrestlers that was being booked on AEW shows, like they're not getting the travels and stuff like that. But Vet,
and all the guys went freaking haywire on it.
But Vet, my question to you is like the difference is like having HR now today in back in the days where the wrestlers handled the business themselves. Is there a positive, negative to each one of them?
Well, it's hard to say because I'm not, involved, and I wasn't involved at that level. But I will say this, a human resource department for any company is for, in my opinion, severe cases and emergencies only. I think everybody, to whatever degree in your company, there's going to be like inappropriate behavior and there's double standards. So if you're just at a normal office job and somebody makes a sexually harassing remark, for example, now some women, let's say it's a woman for sake of argument, some women are going to report that straight away, and depending on that person's standing in the company, it may backfire and she may lose her job because she reported this thing. Some women are just going to take it in stride and they just laugh about it and they make a inappropriate comment back, even though there's never really any intent of say sexual misconduct or anything. It's just workplace banter, sexually related, joking. People have everybody has a different personality in these type of things. But it extends to the wrestling business the same way. Now, if you have an HR department in a fucking wrestling company, that's basically like it's like they've laid a trap for you. You know, like they put the sticks, the branches and the sticks over the pit, and they're just waiting to see if you fall in, right? Like you fell into the trap. You went to HR. Now we know you're a stooge. Now we can't trust you, so you've been marked, right? And then
backwards though, man.
Right. I mean, it is, but then again, you have to know what you're getting into.
Well, that's it. Exactly.
If you're a wrestler more specifically, I can't speak to everything else, but wrestler more specifically, you handle your business at that level first. You just have to. If you are getting hazed, you take the hazing. If people go too far, you have to stand up for yourself to that person. You can't go bitch to other people. You can't go say, yeah, because then again, you're a stooge, right? So you have to handle it. And if you handle it and handle your business like a man, you have a better chance of saying, like, let's say, okay, we talked about The Miz, right? You know, The Miz played the long game. It just took everything. And now he's one of the more respected people, right? He did that. He did what he had to do. He was able to do that. Okay. If you can't do that, if somebody takes, but I don't know how far they took it with The Miz.
Right.
You know, there's the story about like when they were overseas and JBL stole Justin Roberts' passport. So he got stranded overseas. If I was Justin Roberts, I would have kicked his fucking ass. When the first time I saw him, it would be on sight. I would have knocked him the fuck out, just like Joey Styles did. If Joey Styles can do it, Justin Roberts can do it. I would have punched Bradshaw right in his fucking nose, took his hat. I would have pissed in it right there on him. I would put the hat on him and pissed in it. Don't fuck with people's lives like that. There's a difference between making remarks and hazing and throwing people out of the locker room or shitting in their bags and whatever. But when you fuck with my life, that's it, you know? So you handle those things on those levels. And when you do that, the people like The Undertaker will see that and they'll be like, oh, I like that kid, you know, because
right there, right.
You know, so that's how it is. That's how it is in wrestling. And it's to a degree, it's like that everywhere. And I always tell you guys, whenever I get a chance or when the subject comes up, always stand up for yourself in life. You know, respectfully or disrespectfully, however the situation, you have to monitor that situation. You have to figure out where you stand in that moment, you know, and not to cross any lines, but you have to stand up for yourself. You can't let yourself be walked all over because people are taking advantage of their positions. So, but with wrestling, like HR, to answer your question, Professor, like I said, it's just a trap they laid for you to see if you're gonna go to it and do those things. HR is for, you know, like if you have like an issue with your, yeah, it's liability protection. So they could say, oh, well, we did an internal investigate, you know, bullshit that nobody can ever check into, right? You know, if you have travel issues, right? You know, like, okay, that's a HR thing. You can go and see if you could sort it out with them, but that's not going to be that contentious if it was just a mistake. Now, if you see a pattern going on, okay, then you have to decide how you need to address that going forward. But if it's like simple mistakes or accounting mistakes or accounting errors, then you might want to use HR for those type of things. Anyway.
Well said. Perfectly said, man. That was perfect. I mean,
Justin Roberts would have definitely went to HR because he can't beat up JBL.
The fact that Joey Styles knocked him out, man, is just always makes me smile, man. If he can do it, like you said, Vet, absolute Jason.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we all hear the stories about JBL being a bully, right?
Right, yeah.
You know what stories we never hear? We never hear about JBL actually getting in a fight and winning.
No.
Good point.
Everybody is people that got over on JBL because he's not tough. He's just a tall, fat guy. So when he pushes too far, Joey Styles knocked him out. You know, like the aura's gone. You just don't think of him as tough. He's just a fucking loudmouth. And it's kind of the same thing with Brock Lesnar if you think about it. Where's the stories of Brock Lesnar being tough? The only stories I ever hear about Brock Lesnar is he got pushed up against a wall by Jericho, or Jericho got in his face or something like that. And
Mr. Perfect beat the shit
and
out of
Mr.
him.
Yeah, him and Mr.
On the
Perfect was
plane.
fooling around, and that Kurt Angle schooled him in amateur wrestling every time they tried to mess around in the back. That's the only stories I hear about Brock Lesnar. So, you know.
That's a great point. It's true. Prof, anything else before we get into sifting?
No, he answered my question.
All
Good to
right.
go.
Well, there we go. Well, boys, it's time. Unfortunately, because that was interesting conversations. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, sadly, we have to.
Yeah. Now we have to talk
Continental
about
Classic.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
I got to put my mask on for this one. Woo.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, Vet, let's get sifting. I mean, yes, it is Continental Classic week 2. And there was a couple of good matches, but that's about it.
Okay, well, let's just get started with Dynamite. Tony Schiavone brings out Samoa Joe and Eddie for their, as he called it, a volatile face-to-face.
Volatile. Ridiculous. God.
Okay, so these guys, Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston did a standard, but a good pro wrestling back and forth. You know, sometimes you do just like you shoot for what does Jim Cornette and Rip Rogers always say? Like, I'm looking for a difficulty level of 5, but an execution level of 10.
Yeah.
Right? Not the other way around. So they did it, it was just a very pro wrestling promo. One guy goes first, the heel goes first, the babyface goes second, drops the mic and walks out. So I thought it was good. I like both these guys, on the mic most of the time. Eddie Kingston's not like anybody else. He doesn't do like wrestling promos really. Very conversational, very good. Sometimes he uses a little too much insider terminology, but it's fine.
Prof. Oh, you still got it?
No. I was gonna pitch it to Professor.
Eddie Kingston is the heavyweight champion of talking.
Right.
He's the heavyweight champion of emotions. He's the heavyweight champion of getting you invested. But then, as the old saying goes, the bell will ring for winter is coming. So it is what it is for that. It's not a dig at it, but it's just what. Again, it's a great way to start, guys. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. It's a great way to start. We don't have to get into the Continental Classic, just like AEW does. Sometimes the way they open the show is like, we got a great show, and then we go into the match, and the bell rings, and Justin Roberts is like this the stupidest way. Sometimes the simplistic things help for the betterment of the show, and having a face-to-face between the heavyweight champion and Eddie Kingston is a great way to start the show. Maybe I would have wanted more. If I nitpick, I'm going to want more explanation of Hook and stuff like that, how Eddie Kingston is feeling for that moment, but then he's kind of keeping it close to the vest guy. So yeah, again, that's just nitpicking, but for Eddie Kingston was trying to get out of the promo, it worked for me, and I'm interested for winter is coming.
I just want to quickly chime in and say it was a standard promo and it was good, but I was expecting a lot more from these two. I'm not going to lie. Just because it's these two are both absolutely two of the best on the mic. And it kind of lost me. It was just too chill. You know what I mean? It wasn't volatile. Like
chill because winter's coming.
Hey, it's
well,
true.
Let me just
Maybe
say
that's
this.
why.
But Jimmy,
Right.
what are you expecting? Like I said, like Eddie Kingston gives you that emotion, right? He gives you that passion. But Samoa Joe, as the AEW champion, has got to be stoic. He's got to be cool, calm, and collected. He cannot get it. He cannot feel rattled from an Eddie Kingston promo. He's got to make Eddie Kingston right now is emotionally erect because Hook betrayed him. So everything's on the side of Eddie Kingston to be erratic and like emotional and off-centered. But Samoa Joe, the way he's being presented himself, he's the champion. He's got this belt on his shoulders. He's got the ops. He's got the dojo guys, the dojo jobbers. It works for him. I'm just saying that. I know you see some errors. I just say from the presentation wise, I don't see a problem with it.
No,
yeah. Also, one nuance that I particularly appreciated is that Hook didn't really turn on Eddie. He just left. He just went. Yeah. He never left the ops. Is the thing. So Samoa Joe tells the story of like, I sent Hook to see how the other side lives. which is that's a knock on Eddie, like basically calling him a bum without calling him a bum, which everybody calls him a bum. So Samoa Joe did it in a different way. So he's saying like, yeah, Hook was just kind of like, playing you, I guess, but it's not. Hook didn't like, swerve Eddie and like hit him with a, attack Eddie Kingston or anything. It was just more like, I was with Joe the whole time, and it was cool hanging out, but peace out. Like, we're not doing it anymore. So it's anytime there's like a wrestling turn that doesn't involve just like hitting your partner, the laziest thing ever, then I appreciate that. And I appreciate them nuancing their way out of it.
But the only thing is, why would he want, like, why Eddie? Why would he send Hook to Eddie, though, at the time? That's what doesn't make sense.
Because Samoa Joe can, and he did. That's what it was.
Because they're retconning this, because this wasn't the plan, so they changed plans, and they just have to make up an excuse.
100% it wasn't. I lean towards that way. I feel
so that's
that way
fine.
too.
That's fine. It's a good way to get out of it or explain your way out of it,
Yeah, they're lucky for that, at least. But yeah, anyway.
Speaking of the ops, they do a promo. The rest of them do a promo. And what I took from this promo is that they said that the Dark Order was impressive.
Where the fuck did they? Anyway.
Must have been, yeah. Well, I guess the only people watching Ring of Honor was the ops then, because it's the last time anybody's ever seen the Dark Order. So
I'm just saying right there, guys. If the Dark Order is having so much momentum in Ring of Honor, shouldn't they be going after the Ring of Honor 6-man titles? There are 6-man titles there. There's no need for the ops to even give the Dark Order, who haven't been on Dynamite or Collision TV in how long, to even earn a match. That's all I'm just saying. I guess
I'm sorry. What was AEW Championships on the line on freaking Ring of Honor?
Yeah. Guys. Look, well, I don't watch Ring of Honor, so I can't even say that the Dark Order hasn't been going after their 6-man titles. I don't even know. For all I know, they could have been, and it just failed. I have no idea what the storylines are there anymore.
Before you move on, though, Vet, actually, I know the chat wanted to know what our thoughts was about Monet losing to Velvet. Can you believe that? What the hell, Red Velvet? Ring of Honor. Now, I didn't even watch the match. I didn't know about it till I was looking at the news. Did any of you guys watch it? Obviously not, right?
No. All in due time, though. I mean, we could just come to that when we come to it. This is Wednesday. It hadn't even happened yet. Why don't you why don't everybody just calm the hell down?
Right, exactly.
Right? Wait till Collision, Jimmy. We'll talk about I'll get you. I'll get into it. Cool. Okay.
Yep. I've got a little, it's right here, and it's all here in the notes.
Oh, beautiful. All right, cool. Just making sure, that's all.
But instead we have a Gold League match, and it's Pac versus Okada. So obviously this is going to be just fine. And he goes for Pac goes for the brutalizer. Okada cradles him up, so he's going to get a quick one. And there you go. I mean,
Pac looks though, man. Looks like straight out of the 70s.
Yeah, he does. He kind of does have that, like, with the high socks with the stripes and everything.
He's like, come on, man. I know it's sort of a Dynamite Kid sort of look, an old school Dynamite Kid, like even before the Bulldogs. But he looks like a friggin' an instructor at the gym that fucking does Taibo or some shit, but from the 70s.
He sure does.
He looks like Tom Bellington's older brother. That's the way he looks like. So it's the wrong, synergy right there. But I'll say this.
Oh, shit.
Because it's a Gold League match, and again, supposedly the greatest tournament in wrestling history right now is happening with the Continental Classic. I will keep stressing this to the Haminas. I'm sorry that I'll have to keep repeating myself, but with Pac wrestling, we have to at least address for a second. Because I know Moxley and then Claudio will be later on into the Wednesday show. But again, the Death Riders scenario, which the Sickles keep telling the professor, it's playing itself out. I'm telling you right now, they don't do it. They don't do it justice, guys. That's the problem I have. And with Okada needing 3 points, because again, we know that the overall plan, supposedly, who knows? Again, Tony Khan could try to be unpredictable here. But we know it's supposed to be Okada against Takeshita. So this is just filler time to have a good match, a good five-star match for Meltzer to say, oh, my God, this is the way I love it. This is wrestling and shit like that. But again, the nuances of telling little stories here and there. That's all I say.
Yeah, well, he's Okada number one.
Yeah.
Number one. You see Callis do that, which made me laugh. I do want to point out also, they could have done that. They could have, you said this all could be all just filler. The thing is, they could have told the story with Okada right now by having him lose again. I would have had him lose to Park this time, where now he needs to win every match. Get to a point where he literally needs to go through absolutely everyone else. Because at least you've got that feeling of, but if he loses this week, so just say he's only got one more chance. He cannot lose anymore, right? Where he has to win every match. You at least get that feeling going into his matches, like, could he lose again? Is he going to lose the week after winning this week? Like, do you know what I mean? But no, instead, like, he gets the win, and now we're back, like, basically. I would have done that to be a little bit different, and that would have told the story in itself leading up to the Takeshita match, but I guess Tony knows otherwise.
Well, who's the babyface in this situation?
Really, no one, but Okada, I guess you could say, was the babyface.
Well, he would
be babyface.
No, I'm not talking about with Pac.
Oh.
I'm talking about with Takeshita.
Oh, good point. I mean, again,
no, it's not a good point. It's a question. I'm asking you the answer to the actual question.
Okada,
there is a right answer.
Okada,
and good point is not it. Who's the babyface?
Technically,
Okada or Takeshita?
I would say Okada is in this situation.
Okay, well, clearly you haven't been paying attention, because the whole idea is you have Takeshita. Yes, Takeshita is the one who's being put upon by the Don Callis family, and everybody's sort of kind of laughing at him. They want him to break out of the family and go on his own. That's the whole idea of it. That's what they're doing. Am I wrong, Professor? Is that not what they're setting up?
How do you think of it like that?
It would be like that, except there's little to no nuance of it to show it.
Right.
You can see like little bit, like something so simple, like that. You could say, like, production wise, you can see Takeshita should be in the back looking at the flat screen of Okada. Like,
none of that shit.
None of that shit is.
Well,
it's not on.
It's not there's not a game of one-upsmanship going on. It's Okada taunting Takeshita and him just taking it. The whole idea being of that story is that the fans get tired of Takeshita taking it, and they want him to fuck everybody up and turn on the family.
The only issue I have with that, Vet, is just the way that they present. Well, Don Callis is loving.
I know it's not good. I'm just saying that's what's happening
as well, right?
Yeah, we have to, as a trio, as the AEW tag team champions here, the trios champions here, we have to get on the same page of understanding that just because we point out what they're trying to do doesn't mean they're doing it well or anything like that. We're just saying what is trying to be done. Mm-hmm. So separate the idea of quality from actuality in your mind. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying they're doing a good job, but the idea, this is a classic thing of, like, there's a heel faction. There's one heel. The fans want the heel to break out of it. All the other heels in the faction seem to be going against the other heel. And then when he finally turns, or when Takeshita finally turns, then everybody's happy because they've been wanting to see him get back at these guys for treating him like this whole time. So in that sense, putting Okada down 2 matches puts him in the babyface role so that when the eventual meeting comes in, yeah. Now, the fact that Okada is just way more entertaining than Takeshita, who's a fucking cheese sandwich. Like I've been saying for years, everybody else loves Takeshita, and I'm just like, this guy's boring and flat. Like, the fact that Okada's doing the entertaining stuff, the crowd is cheering for him. They cheer for him giving them the finger. They cheer for all this stuff that he does. They cheer for him calling people bitch. He's doing heel things, and the people are liking it because it's entertaining. Because what's the best way to be a babyface in 2025 and going into 2026? Be a heel.
Okada just gets it, man. That's what it is. He adapted to the American style and the American showmanship.
He has pretty well too.
Has not. So Red has pointed that out very eloquently here.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not working the way they're trying to do it, but that's what they're trying to do, and so that's why.
If it continues to not work out for Takeshita in terms of the fans, right? Do you think they will actually pivot and go the opposite way, like long term, or do you think they'll just stick to it?
No, I don't
Sickos
think
don't
it's.
care, Jimmy. You know that. Sickos don't care. They
Yeah,
just
well,
want to see the match. First of all,
you're right. No, you're right for sure.
I don't think. I don't. I don't think that the fans are not going to go with Takeshita. I just think that they're only cheering Okada now because everything's a joke to them. So they laugh at whatever's entertaining.
He's a joke to him. True. It's a joke.
Yeah. I mean, not, yeah, they respect him as a wrestler. But what I mean is like, he's saying, he's doing comedic things now,
Right.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't, it was an accident. I turned off the TV, stuff like that. They're laughing. Anyway, Mark Briscoe cuts a promo and he says he's going to give Daniel Garcia international ass whooping in Wales. So
I like the new TNT championship, by the way it looks. I think it looks way better.
This the little camo,
little camo.
Arctic camouflage. So earlier in the day, the Demand commandeered a camera crew, according to the announcers, and they're doing Ricochet's going to be doing a lot of charity work now that he's the national champion. So first he's going to take on Dalton Castle at Final Battle. That's his first active charity, and then he's going to face somebody at Collision, whoever that may be. Well, we know now, but at the time we didn't know. So that's his active charity that he's putting forth. Then we have Renee with the Conglomeration, and Mark Briscoe's back, and he's saying that like, hey, we got the Conglomeration facing off, so somebody's got to win, damn it. And Roderick Strong's like, I'm not in the Conglomeration, and he walks off. So yeah, there you go.
And he shoulders Orange Cassidy on the way out.
Right.
By the way.
And he's like, he probably didn't see me standing.
That's funny.
This is a great example of him trying to break away from a group that he doesn't even want to be in. That's just what I get from this. And the little nuance, which is all I ask Vet and Jimmy, like you put a story within the Continental Classic, you have a little infighting, maybe a little tension, and now you got the alternate for Kyle O'Reilly, which would have been a great maybe babyface versus babyface respect match in the Continental Classic, which would be boring and mundane and just point driven and stuff like that. Now you got a little intrigue. You got a little intrigue to see where we go with this. Again, Roderick Strong, he's a charisma vacuum, so I really don't care. But at least with this situation, guys, it makes it interesting to have this match within the Continental Classic.
Now, Darby Allin, speaking of alternates, Darby Allin's in the hospital. So I guess he got fucked up in that match with Kevin Knight, and now he's, at this point, we don't know what he's going to do, but eventually it's going to be said that he's not going to be able to be in this tournament anymore. So if Darby's hurt, it must be bad. Nevertheless,
I think within the, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Vet. I think within the Dynamite showing, when they did the match, they showed the spot where Kevin Knight did his jump off the top. He hit him in the neck, and then Darby just landed really weird from the back of his neck, and then he said he couldn't feel his legs.
Shit.
Yeah, so all that credit I gave him about selling, I guess maybe I should take some of that back. He didn't have a choice.
No, do not do that, Vet. He sold his ass off. You know the real reason. This is all fake. He's got a skateboarding tournament, and he's just trying to write himself off. I'm not going to take that. I'm giving you all the credit, Vet. He sold his ass off.
All right. He's the best, as usual. Well, speaking of Kevin Knight, Gold League, Kevin Knight versus Kyle Fletcher. Can he injure Kyle Fletcher too? No. He'll just take a brain buster and lose. Then Josh Alexander and Hechicero come out with Don Callis. And then they have the Bucks' money, and the duffel bags. And then the Bucks come out and beat up everybody. And then Okada comes out and cuts them off. And then Jungle Express comes out and yada, yada. It's just, it's just this whole thing. It's the
same old shit. Exactly. We've seen this week in, week out. This is just lazy booking of all these guys.
Again,
is it wrong? Is it wrong to say this as a nitpicking critique? You're still holding $1 million in the bag?
I don't know.
You're still holding $1 million hostage in the bag. You got 25 members of the Don Callis family that should get Christmas bonuses right now as we speak.
And they should be pissed about it. They should be like, hey, where's my cut?
The bag should be gone.
Right.
The money has been spent. The Christmas bonuses have been sent out. How are you going to dangle $1 million in front of the Bucks after all these days? Just saying.
Pathetic. Pathetic.
I said this after your guys when you were reviewing the pay-per-view. I said it doesn't really matter who steals the money. Tony Khan's on the hook for the money. He's the one that promised. So all you got to do is go in his office and be like, look, you can go get your money back from them or whatever, but you told me if I won the match, I get this money. It's really not an issue with them carrying it in duffel bags anymore. And I don't know why wrestling continues to act like, this childish bubble universe where, everybody just makes up their own rules like we don't live in the real world. Anyways, Babes of Wrath get a vignette. Then we get the hardcore holiday death match, just that mid-tournament stipulation match that we have to have. That's Mega Fear versus Mina Tony. And I was watching this match. Jesus. And I'm sure Charles will pop when I say this, but I was watching this match looking at these women and I was like, there's not one person in this match I trust to give me a move. Like I wouldn't take anything from not one of these women. Maybe Tony. Everybody else, no way. Don't touch me. Just give me a schoolboy and you'll probably hurt me doing that.
Should we pop because with the Holiday Hell match, you had Christmas themed tables, you had Christmas themed candy cane barbed wire. Should I just pop for that? Of course, we got blood. I lost the count of blood, but I'm just saying, once the blood is devalued, then I don't care. But I don't mind the theme for the season, guys. Vet, don't get me wrong. It's Christmas time. WWE did that religiously itself too. So again, I understand that, but I'm just more about the blood.
Are you sure? Are you sure it was blood or was it a candy stripe?
No, I'm just saying there was blood.
Maybe one of the candy stripes came unwrapped from something and like stuck to their head, and you thought it was blood.
I saw the difference between Iguana and Ethan Page at NXT Deadline. It was paint on his face and his body. This was blood. It was blood.
Okay. It was definitely blood. 100%.
Yeah, definitely blood. Well,
that's funny what the Hammer said, by the way. Guys, I'll take a powder. Don't touch me.
Yep. So we did get Santa Claus come down to the ring. He's got a present. He opens the present for whoever it was at the time. I don't remember if it was it Marina Shafir or I don't know who, but he opened the present and it was his middle finger inside. And I'm sure it was supposed to be, a big pop, but nobody really cared that it was Luther under the Santa outfit, or they even could see that that's who it was. Because he's just some bald white guy. So in wrestling, that could be anybody.
They did announce that it was him.
Yeah, the announcers did, but the people in the building that were supposed to react to this, how are they supposed to know? So anyway, that happens, and then Tony gives Marina a DDT in the tax and hits her in the face with a shoe, and then gives her the large package.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It went for a long time too, by the way.
It went for a long time, Jay, but at least the Timeless Love Bombs got their revenge from Blood and Guts. So the payoff was right there. Not only do they go to the finals, but they get their revenge from Blood and Guts.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be better at a pay-per-view though? Like you do that at a pay-per-view or some shit? Like,
that's the middle of a tournament. You don't do middle of the tournament at a pay-per-view. You gotta do finals at a pay-per-view.
Sure. Cool.
Speaking of large packages, Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter they got their eyes on the Dark Sisters.
Yeah. The Dark Sisters, all right.
Yeah.
I never have it ready, but I'll say
never just have it ready. Like you think Dark
Sisters.
Yeah.
No relation whatsoever. The Dark Order is walking and talking.
Oh, true.
And then they run into Hank Person, Adam Page, and Alex Reynolds tells Hank Person, no matter what happens out there, don't ruin this for us. So I was like, it's too late. He showed up. It's already ruined. This whole thing is ruined, having to watch you guys wrestle and then watching Hank Person. But we'll get to that in a second.
Though, man. The fact that he eats dicks for a living, like after that, I was just like, nah, never am I going to be a fan of you.
I'll just say this. and then you could go on to the next segment with the Dark Order. But I look at that as like, I don't want to say this. How can I say it like without disrespecting the whole situation?
Just
The stink of the Dark Order is off Hangman Page, right? He already went to the point that he won the Owen, and then he won at All In, and he's the heavyweight champion. He's got this program with the Ops. He's fighting with Swerve and shit like that. And then you got the Dark Order. That stink of the Dark Order. He got it off of him, and then just for that little fleeting split millisecond, he got it on him again. I don't like that. It just doesn't belong on Hangman or Hang Person.
Yeah, it's true, but too late now. You know what I mean?
It's too late. I mean, some would argue it never came off. Some of it, a lot of the lingering stench is probably one of the reasons why we're just not buying Hang Person, because we've already seen him do these dumbass storylines, and we lost faith in him back then. And then giving him the championship doesn't wash that away. I thought just like putting cologne on doesn't make up for taking a shower.
No, it was the cologne. That was winning the title was the cologne, but the stench was still there, so the cologne just wore off.
Right,
that would bother me, man. If you had a stinky wrestling, you had to be in the fucking ring. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
It definitely happens. So, I'm sure everybody here smells beautiful because it's Renee and Ultimo CEO. She basically just does a promo saying she's going to beat Velvet again. We'll see. Then we get FTR and Big Stoke addressing the Bang Bang Club. So the Professor was happy with this. And then we get the Ops versus the Dark Order. So guys, we don't need to get in depth and review this, but I did have a note, and I think it's important to say. It might even be soundbite and or clip worthy.
Oh,
but get ready, Jimmy.
In the moment in the match where Hobbs went for a pin on Evil Uno, and Reynolds and Silver come in and break up the pin and then start punching Hobbs, right? That whole spot there. That right there is exactly why you guys aren't allowed on Dynamite anymore. Like anybody that watched this and watched you trying to throw punches, which you are never going to live that down from way, 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 way back in the infancy of AEW, where the camera caught you punching the mat.
The first two shows of Dynamite, I remember that too.
Right. And 5 years later, you've learned nothing. You have learned nothing. No. This is why you're not all, in case you were wondering why you haven't been on Dynamite, go watch yourselves, and that's your answer. This is why you're not allowed on Dynamite. Not that everybody on Dynamite is some kind of a technical wizard, but
especially the punching department. It seems like a lot of them can't punch.
Yes, but you guys are a class below, like far below.
This is why you have an exclusive developmental program called Ring of Honor. Use it wisely. But you're not using it wisely.
Ring of Honor, who used to make their name on technical wrestling. So in any case, so after the match is over, because you know that the Dark Order ain't gonna win. So Hang Person tries to go after the Ops, and he gets a little bit, but then all the Ops, the Ops guys come in, the dojo.
Yeah.
They come in, he beats them up, and then security comes in. So he beats up security while the Ops take a powder.
Good for him. Good for him.
Beautiful. That's a great way. That's a great, turning point of the show. Again, the Dark Order is the Dark Order. We already know that. They can't throw punches. They make the air can hit you back with the Dark Order and shit like that. That's as bad as it is, but you gotta at least have some high level clusterfuck ending for Dynamite. And this is, I'm not saying it's great, Vet, just was needed.
Yeah, but you know what's even more ridiculous? The fact that it took the Ops so long to beat the Dark Order, man.
Yeah, it didn't even take that long, but it still took too long.
It felt too long, yeah.
Also, yeah, this wasn't even the ending. It's just a schmaz in the middle again. So
right.
I just no. And also to our conversation about HR, like, I don't know where security goes. Like when they get assaulted by, Adam Page, cause they're like a third party. So like they can't go to AEW HR to say, hey, one of your guys hit us. I don't know how that got to work. I guess lawyers have to email each other a bit on that one.
Unless there was a, what do you call it? A union on site, then you can go to the union manager, right? Or whatever.
The union rep.
A union rep, exactly. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we're in pro wrestling, so I guess it doesn't work that way.
Well, you can't go to Bryan Danielson because that's the only kind of guy that should be like the wrestler's court judge. But
wasn't he like a rep of something similar for AEW?
Yeah, whatever that. He's the head of the internal investigations committee.
That's the one.
Renee's doing some internal investigations with Don Callis and Proto Okada and Takeshita, and she's asking about the belt situation. Like, why didn't you put up both parts of the belt?
I'm like,
on this Continental Classic, and then Don has to explain the lineage of this unified championship that Okada's carrying. So Don is saying that unified championship is not really a championship. The belt is just a symbol of so that he doesn't have to carry around two belts, is basically what he's saying.
Exactly.
And Renee's like, you didn't answer my question. Why didn't he put up both belts in the Continental Classic? And then he got tired of her questions.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. Then we get a promo of Hang Person yelling at us. I don't know what we've done to deserve this. If anything, he owes us an apology. And then Moxley is entering the building from outside. Renee is reporting from the audience, doing one of those things like, I spoke to John earlier today. Like, it's your husband. Of course you spoke to him earlier today. But anyway, she did that. She did that whole thing like the NFL sideline reporter. Earlier, I was talking to Patrick Mahomes and, like.
Is this to my hubby?
Yeah, she's doing that.
Wait. Let me ask you this, Vet, because this was weird with Renee just doing this sideline reporting like it was an
They've
NFL
never
game.
done this.
So is this supposedly the story that we're trying to grasp here with the Death Riders? Is this what we visually need to see, guys? Again, when we get to the John Moxley versus Claudio thing, John Moxley, the tap outs. I have to remind everybody the tap outs and shit like that. And of course, Claudio being the new CMLL champion. Pac had, with Pac lost here too. So who's going to be this leader? Who's going to be the guy that's going to take over the Death Riders? Again, I haven't seen it, Jimmy. You know me. I've been saying
Neither have I. I was saying this before. They don't show enough that there's trouble in the group. Only occasionally, there was only one time. It was about 3 weeks ago where Pac was giving little signs with his eyes when they were doing a promo backstage. That's the only time I saw something. Other than that, nothing.
All I took from this was that it's a sports-based presentation. That's all I took.
Okay,
there you go.
Cool.
A la carte. I'm taking the sideline reporting as an a la carte sports-based presentation. We've been waiting for this. We've been promised this. We haven't been getting it, so I'll take this.
It was always meant to be a more sporty presentation, right, Vin?
Yeah, always. So, speaking of sports, CMLL, like the oldest sport of wrestling,
it is
still around, and Claudio won their world title, and we got some footage of that. So you could, they show that footage. He wears the belt here. And then we got our main event. It's a Blue League match. It's Mox versus Claudio. So here you go. If there was any storytelling during the match, maybe it was lost on me because I was phasing in and out of it. But I did see that Claudio won with the uppercut, and John Moxley was put down. Yes,
and bloodied him to bits, pretty much.
That's right. They tried to recreate the WrestleMania 13.
They actually did. It was a poor man's version of it, though. Really bad.
So poor.
It was really.
But at least Moxley had like the right
facials.
He had the right. Well, no, he had the right cut. To do it because it was bleeding just to the right point. It even looked similar, but yeah. So, but it didn't matter.
As much, because I know Vet will talk about this when we'll talk about Collision in a second, but I just want to point out because psychologically, again, like I said, Mox has been tapping out and he's had the hurt ankle or something like that because of Kyle O'Reilly and stuff like that. The basis of this match was very more upper body. It was not lower body because Claudio, I guess there's ethics. There's a code within the Death Riders. Even though they train like days in and days out, supposedly. That's the gimmick. They train against
Never
each
stop
other.
training.
They beat the shit out of each other. It's all about the next day and who's the best. But I just found it funny that Claudio never went after the leg. He never, he's supposed to do scouting. That's all I'm just saying.
He's a very honorable man. Now I will say this though. Now, so we're asking about this story. We keep talking about, do we get a story here? Do we get some dissension in the Death Riders? Does anything ever like advance or whatever? And I found that interesting because of all this whole bullshit match. The only thing I was interested in was after the match, Jon Moxley's on the outside, just sitting there, right? Like cussing at himself for losing. Marina's over there like, they're there, it'll be okay. Claudio's making the rounds with the rest of the Death Riders and he's like dapping them up and like they're all saying, hey, good job and everything like that. And he's making his way around the ring over to where Moxley is. And right when he gets to Jon Moxley, it goes off the air. So the one interesting thing I wanted to see, which was the interaction between those two guys, and they cut that off. We didn't get that. I assume nothing really happened. He probably just, helped him up and, shook his hand or whatever, but we didn't get to see that.
It is funny you say that, Vet, because I can answer that question because you had to go on their YouTube channel.
Oh,
They all cut a promo together.
Really?
And they all this was after the match and after the fact, and it was more nothing burgers. That's all I will say.
Really?
They talk about how it's all about the next day and all this shit about that.
Really?
But they cut a promo together. Jon Moxley with a little bit of a crimson mask, and I think Claudio was doing some push-ups while Mox was talking, but it was big nothing burgers. I'm glad you even said that.
He was doing a warm down.
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Even if it's a nothing burger, at least it's a burger, like I just wanted to see it, but they couldn't have, with all their damn overruns, they couldn't. All right. So anyway. So that's that. 3 points for Claudio. He's doing well. It's Collision time, and we're starting out with another Blue League match that we were already promised from Wednesday, which is, well, I mean, we were promised from the brackets, but whatever. It's Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong, and these guys just straight up had a wrestling match. Like, I don't even think Orange put his hands in his pockets one time, if I recall.
He did.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they didn't do like the big spots.
Yeah, not the slow kicking stuff, but he did put his hand in his pocket, did the kip up and stuff like that. They did a spot for that.
Okay, he does do that. But other than that, it was definitely a serious match. Now, whether you want to say that's because Roderick Strong says I'm not doing any of that comedy bullshit or whatever, or if Orange just didn't want to do it this time, whatever. But it was a nice match, just wrestling. Orange Cassidy pinned him with some thing. I don't even know what it's called. He pinned him though. Yeah. So.
Well, he rolls him up to get he rolls up Strong to get the pin, and 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, they don't know what to call it either, huh?
I'll call it the Orange Cradle. How about that?
It's an Orange Cradle. I mean, he's like, it's like I don't remember how he got into it, but it's just it's kind of like it ends up in the victory roll position, but he crossed his legs. So I like that. I like that little touch of the crossing the legs and on the leg hook thing. Whatever, it's fine.
I guess the nuance we could just say for the match, Jimmy and Vet, is like after the fact. Once Orange got the win, you can see the frustration in Roderick Strong's face. Did not even dap Orange Cassidy. No conglomeration. We're getting like the Death Rider
in the conglomeration,
right? We're getting a Death Rider storyline of tension,
right here
from the other guys,
from the other guys that we don't want to see. That's what it is.
Yeah,
so true, man.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is up to just like the individual creative control.
Maybe,
like, could it be up to Moxley and the Death Riders to be doing all those nuances for themselves? And they're just not doing it because they don't fucking get it, or because they don't want to do that storyline, or what reason, but who knows? What we do know is now we make it official that Darby is out, and Little Brooks Jensen is in, and Darby cuts a promo about how he's mad that he can't do it, and then he says, "I guess just win the whole damn thing," or whatever he says to the Luke Perry's kid.
But out of all the people, Vet and Jimmy, like, was Jack Perry the right choice?
Hell no.
He's never the right choice. Unless it's who gets fired.
That's true. Again, I'm just saying, like, with this totally stacked deep rosters, Excalibur and probably Bryan Danielson will remind us every day, or Tony Schiavone, and I'm even thinking like Luchasaurus. I'm thinking of, Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. I'm not saying that those are great replacements. I'm just giving names out there. It's like Jack Perry just came out of nowhere. You even having the Don Callis family, Josh Alexander, who could have took this spot. Hetch could have took the L's and shit like that. Even Lance Archer, but Jack Perry of all people. I'm just saying.
I'm just mad. I'm robbed of the Darby and Okada match now.
Yeah,
true.
I really wanted to see that. But speaking of want to see, it's FTR time for an in-ring promo. So the professor is now. Yes, the professor is now. This is his time to shine here and tell us about this little segment here where they call out the Bang Club and all this other stuff.
I've always said, when you give them lemons and they make lemonade. So basically everything about this promo is about, I dare you. I was waiting and they kept saying, I double dare you to touch these AEW Tag Team Championships. I was waiting because, remember, the little nuances of TBS and TNT guys is they always run the Christmas Story movie. They do a Christmas Story movie marathon all the time around this time of the month. I was waiting for Dax the Axe to say, I triple dog dare you to touch these belts. Maybe we'll get it next week. I don't know. I'm just saying I was waiting for triple dog there. I don't know why. That was in my notes, guys. But I like the pop for the Bang Bang Gang. And again, I think, is this for Winter is Coming that they're gonna have these tag team title match? Okay, so we get that match happening. So it is what it is for the promo. So like again, a filler because we know what's coming up for World's End, or we know what's coming up in a couple of weeks. The real guys are coming in the week after.
There you go. The Death Riders cut a promo on Mark Briscoe.
They've got issues with everybody now again. What's going on here, man?
Sure.
No, the issue, Jimmy, was Daniel Garcia is really, representing the Death Riders because he wants that TNT belt. So it is what it is, but it shows a united front.
I'm sure. Very united.
So united. Blue League match. Claudio versus Mascara Dorada. Now, the first time I tried to watch Collision, the feed that I watched cut this match the hell out. And then I saw the results later on. I was like, I thought this episode felt short. So I had to go back and find a different feed to watch. They didn't cut this match out for whatever reason. I didn't end up caring anymore, but Dorada did get the upset here. He hit him with the upset press off the top rope. So there you go.
I actually will say this, Vet. I expected Dorada to win. I could not see Claudio having 9 points. I think from last year, when Kyle Fletcher kind of like ran through like the first couple of weeks, they wanted to make it a point, I think, to make sure that no one runs through, because Kyle Fletcher lost a lot of momentum last year when he like ran through the tournament and then kind of lost like in the finals or the semifinals, kind of like that kind of scenario. So I was looking at this match and I said, Dorada's going to win. And they'll call it an upset and all that stuff. But I was looking at the point bracket. He already had 6 points. And everybody probably in the arena thought, okay, this is an easy win for Claudio. He'll have 9 points. And kind of like make the intrigue that he's running away with this tournament. No, we can't have that. It's not a good look for him to almost run through it and be the overall leader like that. So I knew that Dorada had to win. I was expecting it and I got it. I think Tony wanted to make it a point to make sure that he did not catch himself having Claudio have 9 points all of a sudden, and then trying to like book it later on for him to falter. Can't do that to the new CMLL champion. That's just the way I got it, the way I looked at it.
Well, you could also look at it that he's the brand new CMLL champion. You just beat him. So any way you look at it, you could make an argument one way or the other. I mean, things happen in sports all the time. Just ask the undefeated New England Patriots what happened when they played the Giants in the Super Bowl that year. You know, it's of course we know it was rigged, but I'm just saying since we're talking about booking anyway, you know, it's apropos.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Schiavone sits down with the Babes of Wrath and Mina Tony. Anything to say on this, Jimmy? You're already shaking your head.
Same old shit, man.
Tony was drunk, at least. He was zipping the wine. He cursed. They toasted. That was it.
She's always saying stupid shit anyway.
No, not Tony Storm. I'm talking about Tony Schiavone. He was drunk. He was drinking.
He loves the women in wrestling. You all know that. He's always close to all the women. It's true. I'm being dead serious too.
Well, he sobered up long enough to bring Swerve Strickland out to the ring.
It's Swerve.
So Swerve's out there doing a Swerve promo, and then Josh Alexander interrupts, and he says, "This is Don Callis's house now since you've been away." As if Don Callis wasn't there when Swerve was still there. But yeah. So anyway, Josh says, "I deserve a title shot." That's what he says.
Is that how he rolls?
Yeah, and then while Swerve is distracted with that, Shibata sneaks in and gives him a chop block, and there you go. Take that, Swerve Strickland.
Great building blocks. That's all we need. Just building blocks in a promo, and then all the iterations combined. Don Callis family, the ops, and then of course Swerve and Hangman's gonna play out with all this stuff, all this friction. We love this. They just don't know what direction to go with.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Speaking of exciting, I know Professor been waiting for this one, even more so maybe than the FTR. He may have been waiting for this one even more. But Lexi Nair is asking 12 belts money all the wrong questions, apparently.
Am I excited? I'll say this, and this is a shoot, and how many nights know when the professor will shoot on this. This is 5 months too late. Everything we needed should have happened. All this, maybe the questioning herself, maybe the losing the momentum, should have started with Tony Storm at All In. Back then, she was 7 belts Monet, but then after that, she won like 10 more belts. That was the problem. So now they're trying to do this at the end of the year, and of course, the one title they picked her to lose one-on-one was the ROH belt, which no one cared, and 10,000 subscribers on Honor Club saw it at Final Battle. Whoop-de-freaking do. So that's the problem. Then you get into this promo, of course. What's her name? Layla Gray. Layla Gray, out of all the people, just came up to her trying to show off, to show her out and shit like that. So, of course, the receipt had to happen. But of course, if she's supposed to have this, questioning herself, she can't win the big one. I mean, didn't you want to keep? This would have been the worst weekend in Mercedes Monet's career if she lost the TV title on a Friday and the TBS belt on a Saturday. They just picked the wrong girl for her to even have that option happening. Layla Gray? No. You pick somebody you can believe to beat her, not Layla Gray. And if you wanted to do the worst 48 hours in Mercedes Monet's career in AEW, you might have gotten me that. They just missed the boat. That's all I'm saying.
Where was Layla Gray beforehand to get these sort of wins? You know what I'm saying? Nowhere.
Same place Josh Alexander was.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And she goes MIA for long periods too. Suddenly we see her, then she's gone for 3 months, and then she's back, and now she beats Monet.
Well, she's hanging out with Top Flight. You can't hang out with Skyflight. You can't hang out with Skyflight and then they expect
fly all the time. She can't come back down.
Yeah,
she's always flying. I mean, come on. Well, apparently it seemed like she might have legitimately actually hurt her knee in this match. I don't know if you guys caught that at the end. After the fact, she seemed like she was limping around. I don't know if it's legit or not, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it doesn't matter either way. We won't see her for another few months.
Yeah, well,
so.
exactly right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically yeah. I think it's weird that you had Red Velvet make her big comeback and then lose only to then get a rematch and win. Not sure what the purpose of that was in the first place, but
stupid.
It's worth noting that that's what happened in case anybody forgot. And it would be very easy to forget. So yeah, so this match with Layla Gray, it wasn't much. Statement maker. And then Christopher Daniels, because it's Skyflight. Christopher Daniels comes in and is like, hey, come on, let her go. You won. And she's like, all right. And then she kicks him in the balls. And then she grabs the headset and yells into it.
Let me just
ask you the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Let me just ask you this, Bet. Like, from a creative standpoint, like, do you think what I just suggested, like her having like the worst 48 hours of her career in AEW, would that have made sense maybe long term, or that wouldn't have worked for what it is? Because eventually she has to lose all these belts, right? And then get the one that she's been wanting for all this time, the AEW Women's World Championship. But then my problem would be like, then why would I care about Chris Statlander? She is nothing. If we're just waiting she's a placeholder for her to get the ultimate prize. I'm just saying, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying, but booking wise, would that have been a good booking decision to do a 48-hour worst case scenario for Mercedes and then try to build empathy, or just to have fans laugh at her for having the worst 48 hours of her career?
Well, it depends on what you want, but I don't think that they want her to have empathy, nor do I think she wants to have empathy, nor should she want to have empathy. I think that we should definitely be reveling in her misery. And if she's going to get any sort of like heat off of this, not that this was any good way to do it, but like kicking Christopher Daniels in the balls and then showing that she's like a little more unhinged by going over to the headset and still talking about how she's the best and everything is like more in line with trying to maintain some level of heat than it is, to build some empathy. I don't think she should be an empathetic character, but I mean, it also comes down to what we keep talking about with the ideas versus the execution. We can give AEW an idea, and then what are they going to do? And do we have to keep telling them what to do next? Or can they figure it out? Do they find out the path where it writes itself and it becomes obvious? Like that's what they've had trouble with anybody staying over.
Right. It's true. And like I said, for me, if she's going to lose all these belts but then Chris Statlander suffers the most because she's just a placeholder for something that's inevitable to happen. I don't want that to happen to Chris Statlander because, again, it's what you do when you're holding the place.
Mm-hmm. If Statlander has a good run on Mercedes' way back to it, then it means something for both people.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
True.
If you're doing a quick turnaround just to get the belt off of Statlander, then it doesn't mean anything for either person. So I don't know if Tony beating Mercedes was really the right choice.
That was because when I fucked it up big time.
Because I don't know what they really wanted to do. And I don't know if they have a plan. So we could speculate about it, and nobody's really wrong because there's many, what is the 1,001 ways to skin a cat? Right. But I just don't even know if we're dealing with cats or animals at all at this point. We don't know what we're looking at. So,
well, a bunch of skunks actually, Vet. That's what it is.
Sometimes.
Well,
the Dark Order for certain.
Yeah, 100%.
They stunk the place out. So Eddie Kingston does a sort of like, it's a promo, but it's also kind of like vignette. It's got like the music in the background. He's telling Samoa Joe, do it the right way. He's like pleading with Samoa Joe to not be a thug, I guess. I
do it now.
Yeah. All right. Next,
is it?
the Dark Sisters, aka the Sisters
the
of Sin.
Triangle of Madness.
Yeah. They say it in their zombie Sisters of Sin, come for the win.
Sisters of Sin for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming for the win against extras because they just beat up a bunch of women in the locker room that I've never seen before. So there you go.
I have no idea who the fuck they are.
Nobody does. Ricochet versus Ace Austin. It's Ace Austin that will be his charitable opponent for the national title defense for Ricochet.
I just find it funny that they said, well, I think who's it, Ian Riccaboni or Tony? I forget who said it, but like Ricochet defended the AEW National Championship out of AEW, but it was Ring of Honor. Come on, let's be real. You defended it within the bubble of AEW, and then you're trying to say it's a different organization. No, it's not.
I mean, to me though, Ring of Honor doesn't even exist anymore. So it doesn't even feel like the old Ring of Honor.
It was just funny for them to say that. Well, he defended it out of the AEW bubble, and now he's in the AEW bubble, giving the charity work to Ace Austin.
I feel bad for Ace Austin, man. They brought him in to be a nobody.
The whole players are not there, Jimmy. We have to wait until the whole players of the Bang Bang Gang are back.
Is he going to be part of the Bang Bang Gang though? Even though he technically is, like, you know,
I don't. Again, I'm going with hopefully that Tony Khan knows what he's doing.
Right? Logic.
Yeah, the logic again. But we have to wait for the whole players to come back.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not.
Well, Ricochet won. So this is just in case anybody wondered. But FTR comes out and they attack Ace Austin afterwards because, you know, he is in the Bang Bang Club. And then the Bang Bang Club come out to make the save on their partner. So there you go.
Storytelling.
And finally, the last piece of storytelling of the night is a Blue League match with Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita. Interesting. And Jon Moxley loses again. And
what happens at the end of the match, though, Vet? Again, all his peeps come out to check on him. No sign of any sort of dissension again.
I guess they really are a tight-knit group.
And Okada, I think, was looking in the back, watching this match, too. So he was scouting the talent and shit like that. But like I said, if you compare the Claudio match to this match, Takeshita did psychologically what Claudio wasn't going to do because he loved, that's his brother in arms. Takeshita went for the ankle, the ankle spots and stuff like that. So, that shows that there's more respect for Jon Moxley as the leader of the Death Riders. Not that I want to beat him up because,
it's becoming a cult. It's giving me cult feels now for some reason. Like,
now.
No, I know. It's always been sort of cultish, but now in particular, it's because they're all rallying behind him weirdly. Like,
no, it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. Maybe the tournament is like it's an illusion, Jimmy, right? They're all gonna fight each other, whoever wins, whatever. But then after the tournament is over, then if they do, or when they do beat the shit out of him, everybody's gonna be like, you see, we saw this coming. Like, no, I know it was coming. I just wanted to see it play out on TV that it was coming. And nobody can give me concrete evidence, video evidence of it playing out on TV. It has not played out on TV.
Good example. Remember Danielson, when they kicked out Danielson? Did we see that coming, really?
Not to assess, but we kind of knew that Danielson was getting injured, so they had to write him off.
Right, but there was no real sign that there was any dissension towards him, though. Until they just did it. They put a bag over his head, and that was it. Like,
right.
And I feel like that's what they're going to do again. Something like that where they show no hints. It's just going to happen, and we're going to be like, oh, my God. Like, all the sickos are going to be like that anyway. That's what
I'd rather somebody put a bag over Renee's head, so this way Jon Moxley is so weak, or her head in a fish tank. Make it more. Give me that visual. Put her head in the fish tank. Give me that visual, so this way Jon Moxley could look weak, could look like, oh my God,
begging, like crying,
he's begging. Yes, because the best way to hurt him, as Vet said weeks ago, because I'm going to give Vet all the props, is to play the wife game. Play the wife card.
That's the easy way, right?
You don't have
to. The logical way too.
Because punishing Moxley physically doesn't do shit. Because he loves to get punished. He loves to bleed.
Right.
But to make him cry on TV, play the wife card. fish tank her head right there, and him crying would be great acting.
I can picture the fish tank not getting stuck on her head for some reason. But anyway, that would be television. But I don't see him going that deep or that far.
No.
They just won't.
No, what we should really have is we should have a support group for the spouses of Death Riders, where Roderick Strong and Renee can like get together and have meetings, you know, like I can't believe what so-and-so did this week. Like just because we just had no acknowledgement whatsoever of any of this stuff. And it's very incongruous what's happening. You know, the only thing we even had was like when, didn't Marina like grab, Roderick Strong's leg one time when he was running the ropes or some shit like that. Like,
yeah, but then they were smiling at each other, like almost like they're gonna kiss each other and shit, like making it obvious.
They had a stare down, but Marina did not smile, but they did have the stare down too.
Yeah, she had the love eyes,
right? Which
though,
is like,
you know what I mean?
it's just so dumb. They make it a point to let people know, you know, anybody that's like, you know, what people have going on in their personal lives sometimes. And then they don't do anything with it, which is just a very simple way to eat up some TV time with a story that's not a wrestling match. And then it makes things more interesting if you have to play off it, but they're not interested in doing interesting. So
that's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good t-shirt. AEW. It's not interested. They're not interested in doing interesting.
Dude, one of the reasons,
that's a great shirt.
You know, I've said it before, but one of the reasons that I'm sitting here now is because I realized the moment I realized that people were not interested in ideas. The wrestling business does not want ideas.
But
they're not interested in that.
I don't get it, man.
I don't know. They're just not. Nobody's ever like, if you think about it,
there's certain facets of ideas that, let's say, tried and true, Vet and Jimmy, like this, that makes money. So
money, it's all about making money, right?
No, but new ideas. The scary part about new ideas, Jimmy, is because there's no evidence of making money on new ideas. So you're really taking a chance.
Ugh.
But that's what AEW was supposed to be with the alternative. New ideas, new directions. But sometimes they're going into the cyclical tried and true. And Tony Khan's tried and true is just having the match. That's it.
That's it.
Well, he's afraid.
He's
technically afraid of new ideas, but there's ideas that both sides they're comfortable with because it makes money, but new ideas scares them off because there's no evidence that it can make money.
But ideas don't always have to be the money thing.
No, I get you. I'm just saying, it's like that's where they go with. It's the bottom line, kind of like understanding of it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I agree with it,
but nobody wants to like. I don't want to change those things. You know, me saying I have an idea is not me saying we need to completely upend the table of the wrestling business and do everything differently. It's just details to enhance the money-making ideas. It's not changing the ideas themselves. It's adding new things and keeping things fresh and keeping things fun and keeping things easy. You know, like it's easy to have a thought in your head and be like, well, what if we do this? Because if you do it, it's not like your stock price is going to drop because it's just one little small detail on the show, but the fans will appreciate it. And if you can get people interested in those little ideas, little by little, they start to appreciate the product as a whole because they know that they're going to see little new things here. So anybody that's on top, you know, it's like if you go for Hogan and Andre, but you got Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage, right? Like nobody had to lose on that. Everybody got what they wanted. It's just that there was one thing that people didn't know they wanted until they saw it. So when you give them that, you make a whole generation of new fans off of that. And they also still like Hulk Hogan, you know, it's just, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to enhance. And once I realized that people just don't want to listen to you, I was like, well, what am I doing here? I don't need to be here. You guys got it figured out. So here you go.
Exactly.
But that's not the only reason. There's many other reasons, but I wouldn't trade anything I've done for what I'm doing now because I think the Wreckage is a wonderful institution full of new, old, and exciting ideas that we share freely here amongst the three of us and with all of you lovely viewers watching.
Absolutely.
And AEW.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's the Wreckage. Actually, we finished at our usual just under 2 hour mark of speaking AEW, and it was a great conversation. Obviously, all the way around. I really enjoyed the first half as well, talking about Cena.
The first half, Jimmy, we were excited. It was the
We
second
were.
half with the AEW stuff that we were like, oh boy, we got to save
We
this.
were. No, but you know what? Once we got into it, it's still
I
like
know,
the
I
thing
know.
about AEW. At least there's always
You
something.
can hear the excitement of Vet talking about the first half, and then when the AEW review comes, you're like, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, but at least they always give us something to talk about. That's the plus side about AEW as a whole. There's always something.
It's our job. It's our job to make lemonade and chicken salad just like them.
Absolutely, yeah, spot on, exactly. G-Ball saying, "Whoop whoop vet, it was just me." Yeah. Whatever that means.
It means go check out JCW Lunacy every Thursday on YouTube.
Anyway, guys, well, since it's the end of the show, Vet, are you jumping on the Twitch? And if you are, what are you playing, man?
Oh, well, I will be, and I'll probably be checking out the last day of the Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls closed beta, so I'll be playing that for a little bit, and then everybody else, if you're not into that, you can follow me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. You could check out I popped in and did a run-in with Jimmy and RBV on the Smack Attack last night as we record this. So we talked about a couple fun things there for a few minutes, and then of course they did the rest of the show. I did a watch along with of SmackDown with Brandon, who I will be doing the Impact Attack with on Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about TNA Impact. We're also going to be talking about Final Resolution, I guess. I'm going to have to watch that. Not really looking forward to it, but I'm going to do it because that's the kind of guy I am. And then, of course, on Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, we'll be talking about NXT Deadline, along with the newest episode of NXT with Big Ray Hernandez over on the Next Level Wrestling Review. So please join us there if you like to see the TNA NXT partnership and where that story's going. Spoiler alert, nowhere. And then of course check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers every Friday for a live show where you can ask Rip Rogers a question. Check out Stevie Richards' show every Friday. It's a recorded show where you could still ask Stevie Richards a question because sometimes they do fan question episodes. And check out Limpin' Ain't Easy with Timmy Baltimore, where he does an interview with an interesting person in the wrestling business. That's all I got.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. Prof, tell them what you're doing and what's next for PWR.
Well, follow the link on the bottom right there, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Reflection. And we just dropped an episode this weekend, Tommy and I. So subscribe to the Pro Wrestling Reflection with myself and the Tommy one that we just talked about. We just did a rivalry celebration where we talked about Dusty Rhodes versus the Four Horsemen. So good episode, good conversation, just reminiscing back on great storytelling of how Dusty Rhodes and Four Horsemen had a rivalry going on for almost a decade long. Can't happen now in today's day and age of wrestling right now between WWE and AEW. But we talk about Dusty Rhodes and all the parts that played. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Ole Anderson, Lex Luger, Barry Windham, and James J. Dillon. Fun conversation. Follow me on the Twitter at PWSOPRF, guys. Thank you.
Nice. And as far as I go, tune into I Like a Raw every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's with myself and Big Ray Hernandez. And it could be, the Ben could jump in like he usually does on I Like a Raw. I mean, MSG could be on. You just never know. You just got to tune in to see who does jump in. But till then, Tuesdays, 10 a.m. every week. And also, of course, the Smack Attack, as the vet alluded to, where you jumped on for the first time in a long time on the Smack Attack. We had a great conversation about all sorts of stuff. And of course, me and RBV did speak about SmackDown. Boy, has that show really stunk up the neighborhood these days. But hey, at least we got a good main event, I guess. So go check that out. And also, like as per usual, that Wreckage every week between right here at 11 a.m. Sunday mornings with the three of us. And I think that's a wrap. And I just want to say RIP to Larry one more time. I mean, that face, if only, a mother would love, obviously. But yeah, RIP to him, man. Yeah, it's sad that Punk had to lose and AJ had to lose their pet child, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, he was a good dog, it seems. But in saying that, I am Jimmy T. He is the best in the world, Jaime the Vet Williams. And of course, he is the magnanimous and the glorious Chabelo Vera Cruz. And you've been listening and watching
The Wreckage.
Boy!
right here live on Homie Media Group's YouTube channel. And of course on channelattitude.com after the fact. There you go, Ray. I didn't screw it up again. Just quietly. I just wanted to point that out. Till next time, thank you all for joining us right here. And we'll see you soon. Peace.